It's time for the One Bar and Lupagus Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome to professional football.
All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. I am Lupagus, and today we are SKOL'ing with the enemy. We have Mike Bullock from Battle Red Blog. Mike, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing better than the Texans are at the moment. So
yeah, you know, we're in the same boat. We are both 0-3, and you know, I actually kind of think we're a little bit similar. I feel like the Vikings never quite rise up to the expectations set for them, kind of fall apart in the postseason when they are good, and I kind of feel the Texans are the same way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, very much. And I think both of them have a reputation as having stout defenses, and neither one of them has put that on the field yet. So
absolutely correct. So all right, so let's just shoot this thing off. So how disappointing has the Texans start been for you guys? I mean, what were your expectations going in? I know they're 0-3. Did you feel like this was a playoff team, and is this kind of shocking, the start they've had?
Well, I think I have to back up to last season. There was a lot of hopefulness last season. Deshaun Watson is electric. The guy is very exciting to watch, and he'll just pull magic out of his rear end the way Brett Favre used to do. You know, everything looks like it's going down the tubes, and then there comes Deshaun Watson with some crazy play. And then when they got up on the Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs, 24-0, we all started to really buy in and think, man, this is it. We're going to go. You know, this is going to be a great thing. And then you blink, and all of a sudden it's 51-31, and we're crying in our beers and moving on down the road. And then the head coach gets promoted to general manager, which boggled everybody's mind of, you know, you get that kind of blowout in the playoffs, you're usually fired, and instead he was promoted. And then he promptly turns around and sends DeAndre Hopkins, in our mind, the greatest receiver in the league, off to the Cardinals for a running back and a bag of peanuts. So the fan base here is pretty jilted at the moment over all of those things. And a lot of us are still, you know, struggling with giving up on Jadeveon Clowney. You know, you take a guy who's the number one draft pick and just completely wrecks games all by himself, and you send him packing for a couple of guys that were about to hit the waiver wire. And then you follow it up with DeAndre Hopkins. It's kind of tough sledding in Texans land these days for optimism.
Yeah, and you know, I'm glad you mentioned the DeAndre Hopkins trade. What were your feelings about that when that was made? And when is your next first round pick? Is it like 4 years away? It seems like you guys just traded those all away.
Yeah, I think they're, you know, as soon as Armageddon happens, the Texans will get back in the first round the next year, the way it looks. They're down the next 2 years. It's mind-boggling, some of the decisions that were made. 2 years ago, the team had an embarrassment of cap space, a great number of draft picks, and now we have no draft picks and no cap space, and we lost DeAndre Hopkins and Jadeveon Clowney to boot. So on defense, you've got J.J. Watt, who is, you know, he's an all-world, you know, once-in-a-lifetime kind of player, but he's on the downhill side of his career, and he can't do it all himself. And then on the other side of the ball, you've got Deshaun Watson, who's absolutely electric, but there's really nobody else on that side of the field that's at his caliber. So you can't really expect these two guys, you know, and a handful of other players that may be Pro Bowl, maybe not, to carry your team to the Super Bowl, especially when you're playing teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens. So it's optimism is in short supply in Houston right now.
I feel you there. So general feeling in Houston regarding Bill O'Brien, do they like him better as a coach, as a GM? Do they not like him at all? How hot is his seat, and what's just the general feeling about him?
The general feeling, I think the majority of the fan base would like to clean house with the owner on down. Bob McNair, rest in peace, was very involved with the team and made some good decisions. His son, Cal McNair, seems to be disinterested, and almost kind of seems like he just wants somebody to handle this portion of his business and not worry about it. So we haven't seen an awful lot from him that gives people hope that he cares about whether this team wins the Super Bowl or owning the Texans is just a notch on his belt, so to speak. With that, Bill O'Brien, there was a lot of hope when he came on. He was, you know, promoted as this great quarterback guru and an offensive genius and the next coming of John Gruden in his heyday, that sort of thing. And he's yet to produce. I don't think he's put a team on the field that's averaged more than 24.2 points a game on a whole season. He routinely loses in big games. He will routinely get blown out on national television. In the press conferences, his answers are almost always the same. I have to do a better job as a coach, or we have to do a better job as executing. And he's been saying the same thing over and over and over for 7 years. Mm-hmm. So I think the fan base is just kind of tired of it. You know, you win the division year after year, but, you know, our division was one of the worst in the league for years. You weren't beating the good teams. You know, you were getting pantsed every year by the New England Patriots. And now it looks like we're going to get trounced again and again and again by the Kansas City Chiefs. So you're going to have a hard time finding Bill O'Brien supporters in Central and South Texas.
Okay. So, I mean, gut feeling, do you think if this continues to go south, is he gone? I mean, does he even finish the season?
I would think if Bob McNair was still the owner, he would be gone already, if not gone if we lose to the Vikings.
Okay. With
Cal McNair and what we've seen from him, who knows? Mm-hmm. He may let Bill O'Brien ride it out until O'Brien retires. He may be the Marvin Lewis of Houston. We just, you know, it's hard to gauge because Cal McNair has been very quiet. So.
Sure. Okay. Again, I'm here with Mike Bullock from Battle Red Blog. Check it out if you want to get some inside information on the enemy this week. And we are SKOL'ing with the enemy. Mike, so what do you think the Texans are going to be able to do well against this Vikings team?
Well, I think if they can not throw the ball anywhere near Harrison Smith, Deshaun Watson ought to be able to do a good job pushing the ball down the field with the right play calling. Texans have had a really hard time with the run so far this season. The Vikings, I believe, are one of the less stout run defenses at the moment, so maybe David Johnson can get going. Beyond that, I don't expect that the Houston Texans defense is going to have any answers for Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen. And I really don't see the Texans defense doing anything to slow down your run game. So I almost kind of feel like this game is going to either be both teams score over 35 points because neither defense can do their jobs, or there's so many mistakes that we see a 12 to 15 mind-numbing debacle.
You know, I've seen plenty of those in my heyday with the Vikings, especially the one-star Josh Freeman had for us. That was very tough to watch.
Yeah.
So is there anything about the Vikings right now? I know they're 0-3. They're not very good on defense. Offense has its issues as well. Anything on the Vikings that actually worries you coming up this week?
The coaching. I think you've got a really awesome coach. I'm not quite sure. I haven't paid enough attention recently to understand why the team isn't performing better. But I think a lot rises and falls on a good coach, and I think you guys have a good coach. And I think when it comes down to a chess match of fairly evenly matched teams as far as strengths and weaknesses, I think the good coach wins, and I think the Vikings are going to win this one.
All right. Wish I had your confidence. If you could pluck any current Minnesota Viking off the Vikings roster, put them in the blue and red of the Texans, who would it be?
It would be Harrison Smith all day. You take him and you partner him with Justin Reed, the Texans' best defensive back and an all-pro cornerback, and I think you would have the best safety tandem in the league.
Heck yeah, I'm a big Justin Reed fan, and obviously we all love Harrison Smith up here in Minnesota. All right, so we're going to actually, before we get into that, give me one Texan that's on the team that's kind of flying under the radar, no one really talks about, and who might not just have a big impact in this game, but could kind of step up the rest of the season.
I really would like to say it's Kenny Stills. I really like that guy. He gets a kind of a bad rap from time to time, and he Bleacher Report and places like that are constantly putting out articles of why the Texans should trade him away. But he's durable, he's fast, he's reliable. You know, he's not Randy Moss by any stretch of the imagination, but he's the number one wide receiver on at least half the teams in the league. And I think in the shadow of Brandon Cooks and the DeAndre Hopkins fiasco, he just doesn't get a whole lot of attention and doesn't get a lot of play. But I could really see him having a blowout game sooner rather than later.
And if he does it against anybody, it'll be against the Vikings and their It's the corners that are weak for the Vikings. A lot of youth there, a lot of inexperience, and a lot of injuries. So it could be a Kenny Stills game for you guys on Sunday. All right, so let's forget the colors. Let's, I'm taking out the purple shades. You take off the blue, the red, the white shades. If you're an NFL GM, which of these current rosters would you rather go to war with right now?
I probably would have to say the Texans just because I know the roster better. And I know you could take Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt, and if you were a sharp GM, you could build a team really quickly around those two guys. I know the Vikings, you used to have an absolutely marvelous offensive line. It seems like that's fallen off a bit. You had a completely shut down defense just a couple of years ago, but Everson Griffin's gone and some of the other guys are gone. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that I know enough about the Vikings roster to say that I would be confident taking it. I would be happy to take the Texans roster right now if I was a GM, though.
And you're probably right. Just the way it stands now, with all the injuries we have in the front seven, especially the young corners, our offensive line's a mess. So, yeah, top to bottom, the Texans do probably have the better roster right now. All right, well, you kind of gave this one a little bit of a spoiler, but I actually want to hear a score. I want to hear a final prediction. We're both 0-3. Something's got to give unless we tie. Someone's going to walk out of this game with a victory. Who's it going to be, and what's the final score?
I'm going to call it Vikings 35, Texans 31.
Another close one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to come down to a late game lead change. So.
Yeah, well, we're on the bad end of that last week. I think you guys were as well. So, all right, I like your prediction. I'm going to go with it. Again, this was Mike Bullock from Battle Red Blog, SKOL'ing with the Enemy. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to wish you good luck this week, but I really need this victory. So we'll just go with that. Again, appreciate you coming on. Again, good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks. Good luck to you guys, too.
All right. Appreciate it.